Hi everyone, welcome back to Chai and Chat with Neha. Today with me is Mallika Thope, who is an author, an educator, and also she has written a book. And I got very intrigued as soon as I saw the name. It's called Unfair and Lovely. Welcome, Mallika, to Chai and Chat with Neha.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you so much for having me.
How are you?
Doing pretty good and excited to be on your podcast.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you about so many things today. Um, but correct me if I'm wrong. The book is centered around colorism and it also talks about increasing self worth. Is that correct?
Yes, in a nutshell, that's exactly the case. Yeah.
Awesome. Before we dive in, could you please tell a little bit about yourself?
Of course, yes. I am currently a volunteer educator and author. Unfair and Lovely, my debut book. It's a sincere effort to fight colorism in South Asian society. In terms of my background itself, I come from engineering. I have a computer science degree, and I worked in the IT industry for several years in the Silicon Valley. After that, I founded a coding camps business for kids, and I ran that for about 4 years. The pandemic hit, and I came upon opportunities to volunteer as an educator in India.
Okay.
So took that on, and ever since, that's pretty much what I've been doing. I teach online at a school that's located in rural Karnataka, and I teach them English. Along with that, I run a reading program there as well, and basically, I'm involved with a lot of volunteering initiatives within my community itself.
Oh, wow. That's so powerful. Just hearing that, I mean, I'm from India, and just hearing that you are teaching kids in India, it's like so empowering to hear for anybody who would listen to this conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's something I came upon during the pandemic, and I felt like my own kids were struggling, with the whole remote education system in place. Although they had something pretty solid,
Mhm.
but I couldn't imagine how things were for kids in rural areas.
Sure.
Because to begin with, they don't really have a proper education system. So
Right.
a dear friend of mine came across Loka. That is the organization that sets up digital classrooms
Mhm.
in many parts of India.
Okay.
And I signed up to volunteer with them. And, within like 2 or 3 days, I was in a classroom teaching English.
Wow.
So they're a very well run organization. I would highly recommend your listeners check it out.
Sure.
Um, and being on the West Coast, that's an additional advantage for me because the time zone differences make it easy because I usually teach when it's 9:30 p.m. for me, which is 10 a.m. for them,
Okay.
and it's been great. Classrooms are set up with solar panels,
Wow.
so electricity isn't an issue. I actually went and visited my school after the pandemic,
Mhm.
and the kids are very motivated, which is a huge plus. That really keeps me going. It makes my job easy.
Oh, it's so fulfilling as well, right? Like,
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it just goes a long way. I believe English specifically enables them to, learn things on YouTube if that's what they're interested in, and that just opens up like a whole new horizon for them,
of course.
since everything's on YouTube nowadays, and luckily most families have a phone, at least a phone for the family.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll take this to the next level.
Wow. So nice to hear like how many things you're doing already. And before we dive into that part of your work, I would like to go back to the book that you have written, Unfair and Lovely. So how did that come up?
So the illustrator Kavita Amarnath and I, we actually met while we were volunteering together. at a
Okay.
micro lending organization.
Hmm.
And she had illustrated for, a couple other books and things like that. And she wanted the two of us to get together since I was teaching English and I had uh, published a few basic grammar books at that point. So she wanted to see, what we could do together. And since we were both looking to create like a social impact, since we were, volunteers at this microlending organization that primarily helped Africa, we thought of, what problems within India or Indian society or South Asian society we could address. She has two boys of her own, and I have two boys as well. And this is a problem that I've kind of seen constantly, colorism within South Asian society. And although it's getting better, I feel like it's not really eradicated completely.
Hmm.
We thought of addressing this topic, and I came up with the story.
Hmm.
And, that's pretty much how we got started. I mean, I wouldn't say there was like a particular moment that triggered that decision or anything like that. It was just one of those things where the problem was still so prevalent that we felt it needed to be addressed. I mean, there are books. Uh, these days, you see books on bullying, for example. But
Right.
then a lot of times, the cause of bullying is something like colorism. Not always, but a lot of times.
Sure.
So, but that itself, I mean, we didn't find any book on addressing
Mm.
colorism. And we feel like it's such an ingrained problem in the society that nobody is, it's unfortunate that nobody's even thinking about it.
Right, right. I mean, if we look at India right now, it's divided into so many parts, right? Different parts of the country is. I'm from North and my husband is from South. And it's so sometimes so okay for people to just say, oh, South Indians are a little darker in the color. That's that's what they have made as a stereotype, right? And they think it's okay to say things like that.
Yes. And I will say though that to me personally, I don't find that observation necessarily, and I'm sure you feel the same way about it.
Right.
So, like, I just wanted to add in a point that I don't find that observation necessarily offensive. I
Okay.
think what it is the fact that negativity is associated with dark, right?
Right.
That
Yeah.
is the problem.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And how did you see, and we'll come to Sadhna and Surbhi as well, where the whole story is centered around, right?
yeah.
So, how did you feel that, and especially because the story is around girls, do you think there is a difference between how women are perceived with a darker color than male? Like, usually, did you find any difference when you were researching this topic?
That's a good question, and definitely yes. I just feel like in our society in general, like appearance of women is considered much more important.
Right.
And because of that, even when I researched the forums, a lot of the woes that were being shared were by women. And I mean, I think that's basically the reason. It's because appearance tends to be more important for women. It just kind of goes to another degree when colorism comes into the picture.
And what does that say about the societal bias, right? Like how, like especially with the story of Sadhna and Surbhi in this scenario.
Yeah. So in my book itself, you'll see that the two sisters, that would be Sahana actually.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So that's fine, no problem. So when they start at a new school, she encounters situations where people aren't willing to look beyond her complexion. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, nobody really wants to discover what like her abilities are, what she would be as a friend and things like that. And they're so fixated on how she looks. And, I mean, and nothing that she should be blamed for, honestly, right?
Yeah,
And which is the case with basically every dark individual. It just has to do with the amount of melanin in your skin, and that's just how you were made.
sure.
So So, and then on the other hand, like Surabhi is accepted and she's, makes friends easily and things like that. So sometimes in some situations it's subtle. In some situations, people like sort of like look at her and look away and those type of things. Whereas in some situations, they're actually mean to her face. So, I mean, and this is like we're talking about like a school setting. And then, she goes home and something else happens. And so it's all about how she encounters it no matter where she goes. It
Mhm.
follows her, you know?
Sure.
So essentially it creates like this bias through the entire society, through like whatever she does from the moment she gets up to the moment she sleeps.
Sure. And especially at such young age, this is a trauma, right? Like,
Yes.
and that's where all the trauma comes from, like how society has been treating that particular person. If we
Yes.
talk about other people in this scenario, right? Like who are bullying her in general, I feel like when somebody is a bully, they are seeing this at home, right? That's where they're getting this from, because where else the kids will learn these things from? And us as parents have a very moral duty to like talk about such things openly, right? Like, and empathy is one thing that I feel is missing generally, right?
Yes.
uh People can be different, people can belong to different parts of the world, right?
Yes.
Where
Yes.
looking different is okay,
Yes.
and it's not somebody's fault.
Yes.
That's not normal, like what we consider normal, right? Or people consider normal.
Yes, exactly. And then I think, and you'll come across these instances in the book as well. It's also how what is portrayed in media. And that's a big
Mhm.
thing because, that's one of my pet peeves and like a huge problem in India where, the plethora of skin lightening creams and just how fair skin is glorified in Bollywood and things like that. So, I mean, here's this person who's basically hearing from everywhere that what they have, how they look, what they possess is
Right.
not ideal, you know? So, and obviously that can have very, very harmful consequences in the long run.
Sure, yes. I
Yeah,
mean, think about the confidence level of that kid, right? Because she
exactly.
will blame herself for their entire life. And in India, I remember there was like some TV series that started off based like exactly like how your story is. Like there are two girls who are like cousins. One is dark skinned and one is fair skinned, and how like the lives turns around like in day to day basis. And uh and I think what you're saying in the book as well, what do you hope from this book, right? Like for adults and kids to take away.
So I'm definitely hoping. So the thing is, I feel like this book also serves as an eye opener
Mhm.
for families where they don't experience these type of problems, and when they see it in the form of a story, when
Mhm.
um, you kind of you have a good sense of what someone who's victimized by colorism is actually facing, the type of pain they're facing,
Sure.
that tends to invoke feelings of empathy in you. So
Mhm.
that's when as an individual, because otherwise, I mean, if you don't know about the problem, you don't care about it and you don't even think it exists because you didn't experience it.
Right?
So
Exactly.
yeah, so hopefully I hope that adults see that part because they may not be experiencing it in their own homes. And with children, I think it's also important for them to stand up for themselves.
Mhm.
First of all, obviously, to be accepting of everyone around them, regardless of how they look, which is the primary purpose of the book. But in addition to that, I definitely want to, make them feel like they have a voice and be able to use that voice regardless of how they look themselves.
Sure.
Because again, if you're subject to this type of treatment everywhere, then it's hard to find your voice.
Yeah.
So, which is why when they read the story and they see someone do it despite being in that situation,
Hmm.
I wanted to empower them, basically, to find
Sure.
their own voice and to speak up when they face, bad treatment by others.
Sure. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
I think that's amazing what you're doing out there, because as you said, if this is not available right now anywhere, I think it's a very important topic to talk about. There's probably not in the Western countries, but especially in India, it's very prevalent. We talk about it as if it's okay to say things. and
Yes.
and you also touched about Bollywood, right? Like, Bollywood is one of the places where people get influenced so easily by.
Yes.
If actors are going for these shots, right, like glutathione, I believe, where they get the lighter skin by getting injections,
Mm.
these are the messages they are getting out to the public, that it's okay to go for lighter colors. There are things available for you to look pretty. I don't know what
Mhm.
pretty means to them, but right? Like,
Yeah. Yes.
and I remember, and it's so funny. I like, there is this big actor in Bollywood, um, and he goes with Fair and Lovely, the very
Yes.
opposite
Yes.
of what we are trying to teach here. And he, as if it's very normal to just apply
Yes.
that cream and just come out like shiny, like all lighter colored boy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, where is this going towards? Like, so far we were targeting women only, because women were kept at home, right? They didn't go
Yeah.
out as much. Like,
Yeah.
like if I talk about my mom's generation,
Yeah.
uh I think at that point in time they started targeting men as well, that
Mhm.
hey, you are also the problem. Start looking into your color as well. So, did you? I know you have touched on it, but did you see that very prevalent even in the rural areas as well? Like, when I'm talking about all the actors, I know, like in the
Uh-huh.
cities, people are crazy about like looking great and just going out. But
Mhm.
since you have also been an educator in the rural area, did you feel that
Yeah.
similar things
From
are?
the colorism. Yeah, I mean, I'd say colorism is the same because I mean, the students in the rural areas watch the same because now they have access to phones.
Sure.
So they watch the same type of content and things like that. So definitely there is a glorification of fair skin, even in rural areas. Um, Although that also, is slightly attributed to just their lack of knowledge of the type of cultures that are darker skinned that exist all over the world and things like that,
Mhm.
right?
Sure.
Whereas I feel like being from cities, we have no excuse.
Right.
Honestly, I mean, we know they're African Americans, we are people in Africa and things like that.
Right.
Whereas with my students, they don't quite know those things. Like they know what goes on in the urban cities within India and so on, but it's not
Mm.
like their knowledge is that expansive. Yeah.
Sure. And how important it is, like, for an educator to talk about such things. Like, when you teach them, like, do you come up with any topics like that, and how how their
Oh, yeah,
reactions?
that's a great question. So, because I am asked sometimes, what the same exact question, like just phrased differently. So, what I noticed was when I teach my students, let's say I'm using flashcards, for example, and
Mhm.
we are just talking about, nouns or whatever it is. And there are times, obviously there are pictures in there, right?
Right.
So, I found that when I have pictures of, let's say, kids like who are African American or something like that, I would sense that my students are, either like just giggling amongst themselves or just
Mm.
making some kinds of remarks. So I had to sort of stop right there, use that moment as a teaching moment,
Mm.
and tell them that, this is how people look in certain parts of the world, just the same way you were born with, black hair, brownish to dark skin, or all of that. These are people that's just how they were born. It has nothing to do with, nothing to be laughed at. Let's put it that way. Right.
Sure.
So, so I tell them that. And then because of that, I consciously try to use flashcards that don't reinforce stereotypes. And with that, I mean, not just the colorism aspect, but then things like, showing the woman in the kitchen all the time, right? I mean,
Yes.
how many stories and books are about dad comes back from work, mom is cooking in the kitchen?
So stereotypical, right? That's, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I'm not saying it's not entirely wrong, but at the same time, I think for a girl who is, studying in a rural area, that doesn't really show too many possibilities for her. I mean,
Mm,
coming from urban areas, we've seen a lot of, women progress in different aspects of life. Whereas, um, children in rural areas really need to see more role models doing better
right.
things. Yeah.
Right. Especially, I think the very first role model, I mean, apart from teacher, because they're spending a whole lot of time in school, are the parents.
Yes. Oh
If
yeah.
the father is not helping at home and he's just coming as if he's coming to a restaurant, sitting down, having dinner, and leaving, this is what kids are seeing. That it's
Yes.
okay. It's okay to
Yes.
be like this. I
Yes.
remember my mom is here to help us. And she was in the kitchen. And then my son goes, you know what? She cooks, right? She's in the kitchen always, so she can cook. And I'm like, and I knew this was my moment to tell him. Because I'm like, okay, I'm like, daddy also cooks. Can he cook? So I really wanted to change it for him, the
Yeah.
narrative, right? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, especially my mom and my dad's side, like it's so normal for like, oh, my dad is eating, so I'll eat later, and
Uh-huh. Yes, yes.
and my
Yeah.
mom's
Traditional.
right, and uh, the stereotypical would be, oh no, I don't want to eat right now. I'm
Yes.
not that hungry, and it's so subtle, right? And
Yes.
you would
Yes.
think that okay, maybe not, right? But it's so ingrained in them, right?
Yeah.
And women are often seen.
Subject to they're the victims.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. For sure.
I'm so glad that you're making that ripple effect. I mean, even if it's small, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's going to pay a big time when they grow up. All the kids that
Mm-hmm.
you're educating and talking to, I'm like so happy to hear all the changes that you're making right now.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's and also, teaching in India has given me a good insight into what's lacking in Indian literature,
Mm,
because we use a lot of storybooks when we, during class, and then that gives me a good idea of what they have. And although I will say, I mean, the stories are getting a lot better,
mm,
based on just comparing with what I had access to growing up.
sure.
They're definitely getting better.
Oh, nice.
Hmm.
So how this pivotal moment came, like how you, because I'm a software engineer too myself, and from software engineer to teaching kids in rural area and writing a book about a very important topic. Like you've touched on it, but what was that moment when you realized that, oh wait, I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna do this?
Well, it wasn't so much that I quit. As I mentioned, after my most recent job in the IT industry, I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. So it was almost like
Okay.
everything that I took on was because I wanted to do something different. So I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. So that's when I started the coding camps business and
Okay.
got to interact with children quite a bit there. And then that's when I guess I was able to tap into my abilities as an instructor.
Mhm.
I like to use my just my skills to be to art the skills I have that enable me to articulate and things like that. I like to be able to use them in, whatever profession I'm in. So that's when, and then, when the pandemic hit, obviously all of us had fewer choices. So then that's how, Eva Dialoka came into the picture. And then it's almost like one thing, fed into another. And with the book itself, it was just some, a timely meeting with someone who was an illustrator who happened to be volunteering with me, and
Right.
our desire to create a social impact, pretty much. Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, uh, we were talking about the book, right? Like, what were the challenges you faced, right? Especially writing such important topic, which is
Hmm.
like about colorism, and stand up for yourself, be resilient if somebody
Hmm.
is saying something. What were
Hmm.
the challenges you felt that you really need um, to tackle so that the young kids who are reading this book should get it properly and appropriately?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question, because the one thing about this book is, we decided not to downplay things,
Mm,
I mean, it does seem a little, when sometimes when people read the book, they think that it's sort of too serious of a topic to bring
right.
up with children and things like that. The thing though is, my question to them would be, would you say that if your daughter was experiencing this problem? You know what I mean?
Mm,
So it's not, it's a problem that is serious. And hence, I felt that it needs to be dealt the way that it is experienced.
mhm,
So, and Kavita and I were on the same page about this, because we decided we weren't going to downplay it. However, we decided to add some elements into it that would make it, relatable. So, which is why it's centered around a Bollywood dance competition.
mm,
And That's something that, a lot of kids like to dance, and everybody knows Bollywood, things like that. Um, and it's almost like, I'll say that there's no way to make this topic or this book, like lighthearted and entertaining, and it's just not possible. And as an example, I'll also tell you there's actually a book, Sulwe, which is by Lupita Nyong'o, the lead actress of Black Panther, the movie. So
mhm.
she wrote this book on colorism again. It's a picture book, wonderful picture book,
Okay.
and it is. Based on her own experience with colorism. And there's actually a part of the book where the little girl tries to erase her skin.
Oh my
And because, she's so, yeah, exactly. That was my reaction as well.
God.
I mean, anybody would be appalled that a child is actually thinking of doing
Yes.
something like that. So again, that is something that's disturbing, but at
Mm,
the same time, it is also important, because it's important to know the pain that someone goes through when they experience something like that, right?
right.
So, I mean, in fact, I hope it does the opposite, in the sense that it really drives home the message that
Yeah.
those who are practicing that type of behavior,
Right.
put an end to it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, like right now, like I don't know. I can't say goosebumps because it gave me a shock in my body. Like if a young kid, that young of a mind, right? Like if she thinks, oh, I need to erase my skin so to look lighter, what kind of impact as we like of our age people are like leaving for the young kids, right? Like are we making them feel that it's not okay to be yourself? On one
Mm-hmm.
hand we are talking about, oh, empower little girls. On the other hand, I'm seeing Instagram posts where, all the young girls are putting makeup on before going to school, and I'm talking about 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. I don't even remember when I was 9 8 9 years old what I was doing. Like outside playing, and I didn't even know what sunscreen was.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, where are we heading? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we right now, like, aren't these double standards? Like, where we are saying, oh, empower yourself just because Maybe you're not feeling colorism as a problem. There is probably racism. That's another thing. There's probably sexism. That's another problem, right?
Mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm.
on and so forth. I mean, we can go on and on about the problems that are there. And just because you're facing one of the problems doesn't make another problem any less, right?
Yes,
And
for
at the
sure,
same
for
time,
sure.
we are saying that, oh, putting makeup on, and oh, just because I have dark circles, let's just color it orange so that it doesn't show up. What are
Mm-hmm,
we teaching our youngsters? That,
mm-hmm,
you should hide your face and look
mm-hmm,
pretty,
mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Exactly.
what is your take about this?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's manifesting in ways that, like when we were growing up, it was more about people making remarks. But now with social media, the way it's manifesting is, little girls using filters, little girls using makeup and things like that. Um, and then I think my take on this whole thing is because I've also had sometimes, people say, but you know what? I like pictures of myself where I look fairer. I think I look better, and hence the need for, whatever they're doing in order to look that way. So, so my thing is, the way I see it is okay, fine. That's a personal preference. If that's what makes you feel better, do what makes you feel better. But at the same time, don't look down upon something that
Exactly.
is not, that doesn't look like that.
Right.
That is the point I'm trying to drive home. I mean, I'm
Right.
not even trying to say, stop putting on makeup or whatever. Do whatever makes
Yes.
you feel good. But at the
Right.
same time, don't look down upon, don't make judgments, don't assume things, don't
Right.
assume, make assumptions about where they're from, their education level, their abilities. That's all separate.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And we were talking about it just before this recording, right? Like, women are often told that, you have to look presentable, you have to put on makeup. I've heard this term as well, just so that, you're taken seriously. And I go like, I am way, like, okay, yes, let's look presentable. Of course, yes. Who doesn't want to do that? But because I'm putting makeup on to be taken seriously, that doesn't make sense to me. Not
Mhm.
that I'm against makeup. I would put it when I want to put it, not to impress somebody,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes.
it's not that I'm sitting on a table and my ability is any less, so that, just because I'm looking pretty, they'll be like, oh, yeah, like, she's saying what is she saying? This is all correct, right? That's so
Exactly.
stupid, right? Like,
Yes. Yes. For sure. For sure. Yeah.
yes, I think so many things that like are going on right now, and I think it's the time where we as an educators, right, like, can make a shift around these things, that it's okay not to dress up, it's okay to just show up like how you are.
Yes, yes. And I will say though that I have seen a good amount of visual content where people are just being themselves, which is
Nice.
great. I mean, that's like a nice, healthy trend. And I,
Yes.
I hope it continues.
Right. Yes, I hope too. I mean, I think now people are waking up from slumber,
Yeah.
where now they are realizing, no, it's not okay. And I think if I talk about colorism specifically in this scenario, personally, because I'm wheatish, which is
Mhm.
like very common, normal color in India, like, we're not fair, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I've never felt this colorism, but then I'm short statured. So I've
Mm-hmm.
always heard, like, oh, you're very short, you wouldn't find a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at the end of the day relates to you wouldn't find a guy, right? Oh, you're so dark, you wouldn't find a guy.
Yes.
Right? Oh,
Yes.
you're short, you wouldn't find a guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you know how you're talking, you wouldn't find. I'm like, what are we teaching our girls? And
Mhm.
specifically, if parents are talking these things, imagine what kids are thinking about themselves then. Are we
Exactly.
not worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, is
Yes.
that what we are teaching our kids?
Yes, and I mean, it's one of those things that they're always listening, even though the conversation may not be targeted towards them, which is why it makes it so important to say, to do the right things, to say
Yes.
and do the right things. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And that makes me want to move to your the next book that you have published already.
Uh-huh.
It's called hashtag Tangled Root.
Tangled roots. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please tell us a little bit about the
Sure. So it's actually available only in India at the moment. And
okay.
it's about this, it's a lighthearted narrative. And it's about this girl, like a preteen girl, and, growing up in a modern city. And it's about how she has this mom who is trying to um, introduce traditions and make sure the kids follow all the cultural traditions and so on. And it's about how she initially resists it and then starts to appreciate it, like through the story. So yeah, I mean, it's meant to have a message. I mean, it's like, I would say, less like socially impactful, but more the type of book that a lot of kids that age as well as parents could probably relate to.
Okay, nice. So it's for people who, like, for example, if I talk about my son, right?
Yes.
He's like, oh, like, what is Diwali? And then I had
Yes, yes,
obviously
exactly. It's that type. It's the type of book he would need to read.
okay. So it's like Tangled Roots and how she come up with like what she actually is and be proud of being
Pretty much, yes, yes,
okay.
something like that. Yes.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
So since you are into writing books, right? Apart from writing the books, and obviously the second one is not about any social impact, as you said, right? What kind of impact are you trying to make outside of the books that shows people like, oh, just be empathetic and just do do think about other people as well. So what kind of work you're doing around that?
So with the book, the book was basically a start. And in terms of, I found that it was received pretty well. And I started to get messages from, my readers in terms of how they hadn't really encountered something like that, and they just felt that it was highly necessary for society and things like that. So and then I thought that that sort of instigated me to sort of take it up to the next step.
Mhm.
So I do anti-colorism presentations at schools. I speak on podcasts just like this one, and I speak at libraries and book clubs and things like that. I may my through Instagram. I mean, it's been a great platform
Mhm.
to just raise colorism awareness. I share information about everything that's going on all over the world to fight this problem.
Sure.
So that basically is helping recognize it finally, and hopefully help eradicate it in the long run.
Sure, sure. And how you said you have two boys. Um,
Yes.
how did they react to your book or other
So
books?
they congratulated me, obviously, and my older son, I remember, read it before my younger son, and he definitely thought that he was like, wow. So I will say he was actually almost shocked to read it, only because he grew up in the US and he
Okay,
has not encountered colorism as much. So
okay,
he was, and there are like these like aspects of Indian culture that you don't recognize as much because you're living overseas, right?
sure.
So, which is why that was like an eye opener for him. But then, and I mean, it's not like he disagreed with it or anything like that. That's when it was like an eye opener for him. But since then, when we've been watching movies and things, and when there are lines or when people say things, when there's a song, because I mean, luckily, I'm one of those like lucky parents, I guess, where my son actually sits down and watches Bollywood movies with me, which I am still thrilled about. He's a college student now and he still does it, which is wonderful. Yeah, he just started college. He's a sophomore. Which is, I mean, the wonderful thing about that is, yeah, he sits down and watches movies with me, and he's now recognizes it. He's like, okay, now I know what you were talking about.
Yeah. It's very
Yes,
subtle. People wouldn't take it, right? Like, oh, that
yes,
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, yeah, and it's almost like, I will say his reaction was interesting, because it's almost like how could a problem like this exist? I mean, isn't there some policy in place which would and don't doesn't someone do something about this? How can they have? I mean, we're talking about like Fair and Lovely ads, right? Like, how can you even have something like that? That's his reaction. So, and which is, and as you were mentioning, it's just so normalized, which
yes,
is, I mean, in this day and age, I mean,
yeah,
I know they changed the name to Glow and Lovely, but it's still the same product.
I
Yes.
didn't know this.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This was, after the whole BLM thing, they decided to change, the company decided to change the name because they
Okay.
faced a lot of backlash.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, the underlying thing is the same.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, although I think, see, the thing is, in the past, there wasn't a collective voice. Like, for
Mm,
example, let's say an ad came out. I mean, at the most, you would probably see someone do an opinion piece in the newsletter about it, right?
right.
But
Yes.
then now, thankfully, because of social media, you have everybody just at your throat when something like this comes out. I'm so glad too that they used an Indian who looks like most Indians. And it wasn't,
Mm,
because that would be an entirely different story if it was made in India.
yeah.
Again, they'd have someone who looks, as Eurocentric as possible.
Mm, yes. Sorry. Mm,
No worries, no worries. That's
got
okay.
stuck
That's
in
okay.
the throat. I don't. Oh God. Mm, my throat just totally gone.
No
I
worries.
Yes. I mean things like these, and when people are looking at things like these, it leaves an impact on who's looking at it and what perspective they're getting out of it.
Yes,
And it's
yes,
very important to call this out and talk about it rather than putting it down. And it's
yes.
okay, it's fine, just leaving it on the table for somebody else to take care of it.
Exactly, exactly. That's the thing. Because, in fact, to be honest, like there many times I even, I have like friends of the family and people that know I wrote this book, and they're like, "But why did you choose to write about this? Like, why? Like, why? I mean, is it affecting you? Is it?" And I'm like, it is a major problem, and I just chose to do something about it. It has nothing necessarily to do with the fact that it's my own experience. And I don't feel that just because I'm not experiencing it severely, that I should just not do anything. I mean,
Excuse
taking responsibility for it is, I think, important for anyone, regardless of how much or how little it impacts them personally.
Right. And I think this is what we touched in the beginning too. Not necessarily you're going through the same problem, there might be some other problem, but it's
Yes,
not about the problem.
yes,
It's about how we are dealing collectively with this,
yes,
right?
exactly,
No matter
exactly.
what
What
it
you're
is.
doing to solve it.
Exactly. It's
Yes,
not that, oh, not my trash, not my problem.
yes,
No.
absolutely. Yeah.
I think, and it holds true for all the topics that we are talking about, even if you're short statured, even if you're women, right? Now businesses are posting like women owned. Why? Because they want to say that women are coming up and they're changing the narrative for themselves, rather
Yes.
than being just, homemaker. Yeah.
Mhm.
No matter how many glorified names we can give, right?
Yes, yes,
Like we
yes.
can say, house manager, and we can
Uh-huh.
do all that just to make ourselves happy. But are we tackling the root cause of everything?
Yeah.
Right? It's not about racism, it's not about colorism here. It's about, are we empathetic towards anything that's happening around us? And then, more important question, what I feel is, what are we teaching the upcoming generation? We didn't know. Our parents didn't know better.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that, right? Now
Mhm.
we are getting more aware. What are
Mhm.
we doing within ourselves, our communities, our neighborhood, so to make this change? When kids talk about, Asians are different than us. Like when I'm talking about Asians, I'm talking about China and, all those countries where the features are different. So are we teaching our kids to make fun of those? No, we are telling them that it's okay. It's okay, they are different.
Mm-hmm.
We are different. Our hair are black, right? Like, we obviously like different colored skin depending on where we are in India. But then what are we teaching? It's okay to embrace ourselves, right? So I think we need more of this around. And when somebody is saying something, I think it's our duty, and more than duty, it's our responsibility to correct them right there and then, so that they know that it's not okay
Yes,
to say things.
exactly. Exactly. And you brought up some important points about how, how the fact that like our parents and a lot of like older people didn't know better about making these comments. And you'll find this information, I mean, you'll find this addressed in the book as well, because so it's like specifically, it's not like these people love you any less. It's
Yes.
just that that's what they've been led to believe, and they just pass it on, you
Yes.
know. That's the troubling part.
Yes.
So they didn't give it time to like think twice about it. um so it just went on and on and on.
Right.
Because there are many people that blame colorism on colonization, and I'm personally of the belief that that may be part of the problem, but
Sure.
that is not the cause of the problem.
No.
Because I feel like there were other issues that colonization resulted in, but then those are issues we've decided to like do away with and get away from. But then, colorism, we've hung on to it, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. And I think you brought an important topic, right? Like, um India got independence, right? And I mean, we were the country, like, I think even Africa, like, and I think this was the pattern. The countries who are poor, right? The color was
Yeah.
different than of
Yes.
who
Yes.
basically ruled us.
Colonized.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think that's where it all started from.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could just choose the color.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to get born today. Let me choose what kind of color. I don't
Yes.
like
Yes.
this hair. It's not pick and choose.
Yes. Yes.
And when are we going to keep that stupid mind behind and
Mm-hmm.
look beyond that? Look at the education of the person. Look at what things they are doing, and how far they have come. And it's obviously all these people who have gone through so many things, and especially dissimilarities, they have learned how to be resilient, and that's why they are where they are now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But the trauma is still there, unless they
Mm-hmm.
are like treating themselves right with that trauma, because that brings in another topic where, I mean, male versus female, then, and the confidence, right, that it brings, like, even with females, right? Oh, I'm not looking that great, maybe, and like how I said, maybe I won't find the nice guy for myself, right? This is a trauma that,
Mm-hmm.
parents put on their kids, that you have to look good, you have to look fair, right? So to get a good guy. And I I try to break the stigma from my mom as well. Like, my mom goes, "Oh, she's so old." Another topic of this generation. Like, when is she getting married? And I'm like, is marriage is the, like,
Destination.
exactly. I'm like, are we thinking of like, no, 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 she has to get married? I'm like, she'll get married and then she has to have kids. And one kid, and then, oh, when is the next kid coming? Okay. Oh,
It's a never
it's
ending.
never ending.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. And I think
Mm-hmm.
what I feel, the crux of all this is empathy. I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to be more empathetic. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
we are missing in general in the
Mm-hmm.
society. And
Mm-hmm.
no wonder we are seeing what we are seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And the more people are becoming aware of such things, the more empathetic they are becoming. So if you see
Mm-hmm.
people like who either have gone through this, or either have seen their kids going through certain things, or people around it, they become very empathetic just because they have gone through it, or they have
Mm-hmm.
the awareness to go through, the process, and just be empathetic. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what we need today.
Yes.
That's what we need tomorrow. And I think the world will become a better place to live in.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yeah. This is just a start.
Yes, we are just getting started, and
Yes.
I'm very, very confident that, with the ripple effect, even, when we say this ripple effect, right? Like, even if we are doing this small change around us, the kind of vibe that we are vibrating on or exhilarating, like, I think people are catching on to that vibe and they are also
Mhm.
feeling the same, right?
Mhm.
Same goes with, if I'm teaching it to my son probably is speaking to his friends.
Exactly. Yeah.
So small things.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
make.
And, which is what I've also shared with other people, like, especially after I published this book. Um, I know that my family members, as well as like my immediate friends, well, everybody who knows about the book, basically, they will know not to make those type of comments in my presence. So the way I see it is if I can change this many people, then hopefully that will ultimately propagate to
Yes.
more people and hopefully the entire world one day. We'll see.
Yes, yes. And hopefully, like, things like color, like
Mm-hmm.
speaking of color as if, like, like making somebody feel good or bad about themselves. I think we should just come, like, over it, right? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think this should not be a problem. This should not be a topic. And I'm just hoping that this gets eradicated, like polio. Like, we should not talk about this.
Exactly. Yes.
And especially to small kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are our future, and we should think about what we are bringing in.
Yes. I mean, they're just starting to form ideas, and you don't want to,
No.
implant the wrong ideas in their head.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Malika. This was such an amazing talk with you, and especially on such an important topic, like where like so many people can just ignore this, thinking it's okay. I'm so glad I got to talk to you about color and how important it is to, just eradicate such talks.
Yes, for sure. And I'm happy to be on your podcast. Thank you for the opportunity. And hopefully, we would have created a lot of awareness about colorism.
Yes, yes, we definitely have. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. It's totally my pleasure to talk to you about it.
And it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Thank you.